Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, Matey-san Gaming. Today we're talking about airsoft indoor versus outdoor in Japan. Which is better? And we're gonna start with outdoor. Number one, the pros of outdoor is that it feels more like an adventure. It is an adventure to be had. There's always a different place to go. There's sometimes you'll go to a woods, sometimes you'll go to an urban area, sometimes you go to a mix of both, sometimes you go through a trench area or something like that. And there's always this sense of this journey and storytelling when it comes to an outdoor arena. And it's fun. It's fun just that in itself. It's fun in that in itself because just trying not to die and just kind of being tactical with your squad is more fun in outdoor. And that being said, the second thing is that the crowd in outdoor is more relaxed. It's more like the old guys, the old money, mans with their gas blowbacks and the mans with their like PTWs and stuff and M16s and long goofy guns and more about cosplay and acting like military guys. And these are all Japanese people, right? Because they never actually, done that half that stuff. So it's a lot more relaxed. It's just people having fun most of the time on outdoor. So it's a lot more warmer, if I were to say that. In Japanese, you say yurui, so it's like a looser kind of feeling. It is also cheaper to play outside in terms of time versus money. You'll pay about $35 to play for 6 hours, as opposed to some places where you pay $45 or $50 to play for half a day. So that's one of the big advantages of going outside. And it doesn't hurt as much either. It doesn't hurt as much. The joule speed is 0.98 in Japan, so it's about 280 FPS. So it doesn't hurt that much anyway to begin with. You're not going to be bleeding unless you get shot in some weird angle. But it doesn't hurt as much because of the engagement distances, and the guns aren't that strong. And it's cool because you can use almost any gun. Any gun is viable except for gas blowback when it's like cold outside, and maybe pistols. I'd never really ever use my pistol unless my gun actually goes down and there's something happening, or I have to go to a really tight area, or I just use it for the memes. But it is easier in a sense because you can use any gun you like. You're not forced to go into some kind of meta, which we'll talk about in indoor. And it's a little bit more new friendly because of the speeds, since the bullets or the BBs don't come up to you as fast. You can actually see them coming towards you, so you can actually dodge a little bit easier. There's a lot more room for error, and that sense of adventure and that cosplay focus is more noob friendly, I would say. And if I were to take someone to airsoft for the first time here in Japan, I would try and take them to outdoor, but of course there are cons with that. Number one, it is weather dependent. Do not play in the rain because AEGs, that ain't it, chief. Gas blowback, I guess you can, but rain can really spoil the day, and you got to find another place to go. And most places will not most places just keep going, but some places will cancel. So you have to just be aware of the weather. And for some reason, every time I go to play, it's always like bad weather whenever I go to play airsoft outside. The second thing is that the long engagement distances is it kind of makes it a little bit more difficult, and it makes it a little bit more less of a dodging and high kind of skill-ish kind of gunfight, and more just kind of a spam. You just kind of spam until they peek their head out at the wrong time. And that's kind of what it becomes when you play outside in like an urban arena kind of place where there's already set pieces of cover. When you talk about woodland, oh my god, woodland is annoying. I'd never want to play that unless you have some kind of magnifier or you're a sniper. Visibility is terrible in woodland, and they can kill you from anywhere. So that is just not fun. If you do want to play outside, I would highly recommend playing at a field called like Tenku or Tokyo Sabage Park, because there's actually set pieces of cover and there's set chokes and stuff like that. So it's easier to play, because woodland is just a huge sandbox for a disaster. But either way, it becomes a spam fest and pre-fire cheese half the time. And honestly, in outdoor, I noticed that engagements are very rare unless you actually look for them. Like, you can actually play the game and never have to fight anybody and just, I don't know, go for the flag or something. And because of that wide open area, and I guess this goes with any map, because you don't know the map, it becomes harder to push because you don't know what you can push, where the angles are, because there's a lot more angles than there is on indoor fields. So, map knowledge comes with any one of these games and any one of these types of airsoft fields. But in outdoor, it's much more pronounced because there's an infinitely amount more angles than there is in a set place like indoor fields. So getting locked on chokes, for example, you pretty much limit play. Everyone just runs to the choke and you get stuck, and then you got to proceed to spam fest and pre-fire cheese and hope that you get a pick, or the other team gets a flank, which is kind of hard to begin with. So it's kind of annoying to play outside sometimes. And of course, the cons, it's annoying to get there. Most of them are really far or in some next area. You need a car half the time, or hope they have a shuttle bus. If they don't, it's kind of hard to go. And you get dirty and stuff like that. And it's really tiring. The next day, you are done. I'm telling you, you are done the next day. Don't even try. You're going to be dead. Let's move on to indoor. Indoor, convenient to play. Close to stations most of the time, and you don't have to change. You don't have to worry about dirt. You don't have to worry about weather. It's indoor. It's inside, so it's really nice to just play and go. It's really good for I just want to play for today after work. We can go to an indoor field. Most of them are open till 10 o'clock p.m. And I think these days they're only open till 8, so that's I don't know, because of coronavonies, so we don't want to do that. Second thing, you don't need to clean your guns. Your guns are pretty good to go. There's no dirt. I guess you should be cleaning your guns anyway, but you don't have to do any of that when you're inside. And you get to use tracers. Tracers are really fun to use. They're expensive though, but it's good for video making. It's good for knowing where your shots are actually hitting or not, and calling out zombies, which you will encounter more indoors for some reason because of the kind of culture, which I'll get into specifically here in Tokyo. Pistols are viable. Gas blowback pistols are viable because the engagement distances are really short, because they're not big, huge CQB fields here. They're not that big, maybe about 100 square meters at most. But some places will have different floors and stuff like that. There isn't that much space here in Japan, so it does promote a different style of play, which I'll talk about in a moment. You can play at any time, hot or cold. GBB is always viable. It's always viable, no matter where you play, because they have heaters, they have things like that. So you could always use your gas blowbacks, which is cool because I want to get into gas blowback rifles when the new Mark 18 comes out. When it becomes available again, they're sold out right now, so I can't really get it. And there's a higher skill floor. If you're into that, it's sweatier. There's more skill to play. There's more emphasis on clearing, more emphasis on pieing, more emphasis on higher reaction times, and more head-to-head fighting. Rather than, just spamming or catching someone off guard and just flanking and killing people who don't know where you're coming from. It's easier to, it's easier to see the enemies. It's easier to encounter enemies in indoor. You're always going to have to fight someone at some point, possibly pretty early, depending on how much you push. And even if your whole team gets cleared and you have to anchor the point, then you're going to be fighting somebody half the time. Games are short. They're not 10 minutes. They're really short. They can end in a blink of an eye. But you'll be playing many, many games during the 4-hour session. Now, some of the cons about indoor is that there is limited space. So when you're usually playing a free game, like a drop-in game, which is what mostly it is, if you do a reservation, it doesn't really matter. You can do whatever you want most of the time. But there's limited space. So you have to walk. You have to walk. There's a lot of chicken winging as well. So instead of having proper form, which some of us like to milsim, you're going to be putting stocks on your shoulder. You're going to be holding guns into your chest. You're going to be really playing at the sake of the environment, so there isn't that much freedom to move. And lighter guns become more of the meta. There's kind of a more set meta in indoor fields, like using a gas blowback pistol was probably the most OP. Put a red dot on that. SMGs are OP. I've seen some people using bolt action rifles. I think that's just memes, but SMGs and CQB SBRs, small assault rifles, those are definitely more viable than a full-size rifle and stuff like that, because weight and being able to ADS really quickly, peek out really quickly, and UAB style peeking is the skill fucking meta. So UAB is kind of you peek your head out, you do jiggle peeks, and you just shoot, and you hold your gun in some weird ass way, and you use that to just pretty much K people. So you're just doing peek shoot, pre-fire, then crouch, then peek shoot, pre-fire. Instead of outdoor, where you'd probably just mount on the wall and just kind of spam, and you have time to dodge. Because the speeds are still slow, but because it's such a small area, you have to really react and you don't have time. And you can get your optic shot out a lot, so you got to be careful with that. It's also really expensive It's like $50, 4,400 yen on the weekend, 4,500, and you only play for half a day. So thinking about that, it is kind of expensive to play. And if you die a lot, which you will in indoor, you won't be able to get your money's worth. And it hurts, man. It hurts indoor because it's closer. So in some places most of them are about to like up to 90 meters per second, but some places you'll go is like 0.98, which is the max. And that hurts, bro. That hurts. And the last thing I don't like about indoor is that there's usually a lot of tryhards there. Like in Tokyo, there's a very famous field called Black Fox. And that field basically is like the competitive field. So like it's just sweaty tryhard. They do speed soft tournaments. And a lot of those people go there as their main field to like compete and play the game as a sport rather than as a hobby. And then they'll go to the casual areas to pub stomp, and they won't call their hits half the time because they're just there to like they're there to just practice their techniques for Black Fox. So you really have to just really blast them a lot, because if you just hit them once and graze them, they ain't gonna call it half the time. Japanese people are actually really good at calling their hits and playing the game with honor. They are the ones that invented airsoft, but if you didn't know that. So, they're pretty good, but I've noticed the Black Fox players, they don't really call their hits half the time. So you got to really try and win that fight and blast them and, make them pay for cheating. But they are also, really good. They're really good at what they do because they use sport-like technique like the UAB. Where here I'm just a cosplayer, dude, and I just do my thing, bro. So, yeah, man. Which do I prefer? Honestly, I prefer outdoor, even though I played indoor a lot. Outdoor gives me more of the freedom to move around as I please and flank. I'm really good at running fast and speed and stuff like that, and I get to use all the guns I want. Though indoor is also hella flow state, and it requires you to be quick and accurate and always be on top of things. So I don't mind playing indoor. It hurts way more, but the speeds are higher and it's more convenient, I guess. If you just want to go play in the summer, you can just go play. Whereas outdoor, you got to wake up at 6 a.m. and really make a whole day out of it. It's all part of the skill gap, though. But yeah, that's just my preference. What do you guys prefer? Whether you're in the States or in Japan, which do you prefer, indoor or outdoor? Let me know in the comment section down below. Like the video if you liked it. If you didn't like it, put a dislike and eat my ass for breakfast.